The Sophisticated Savage podcast features unfiltered discussions on a variety of topics, including controversial, explicit, and thought provoking content. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect those of the production company or its affiliates. Some discussions may not be suitable for all viewers. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised.
Tonight's episode is different. It's not about sports. It's not about headlines or predictions. It's about pain, real pain. It's about the grief we carry, the grief we never talk about. As four men, four Hispanic men, we were raised to be strong, silent, stoic. We weren't taught to cry. We were taught to keep it moving. But today we're choosing to pause. We're choosing to be raw, honest, and vulnerable because grief deserves space. Whether you've lost a parent, a sibling, a friend, or even a version of yourself, you'll find something here that speaks to you. This isn't just our healing. This is a table for all of us who've loved and lost. So take a breath, sit with us. You're not alone. This is the Sophisticated Savages podcast.
Simple quote by Yoda.
God.
I think he says something like, in life, you have to learn to live without the things you love or some shit like that. Because getting so attached to it will bring you so much anger and kind of grief in a way. Kind of like what happened to Anakin when he lost his wife or whatever. He started like, going crazy. So I just remember like Yoda had like that one quote. I probably butchered it, but I just wanted to share. When I heard that quote, it really like gave me the proper mindset to how to deal with a lot of shit in life. Learning how to let go of things.
Why are we talking about this?
We want the real reason.
I mean, it's deeper than whatever you're gonna say right now.
How you know?
Because I know you. You're my dog. My dog, Blue. But well, or were you gonna say something else?
Nah, I was gonna say something completely stupid. We're here because of you, boy. Take us home.
Yeah, not here because of me. This was actually brought up by Roberto firsthand. I just happened to be resonating with it as well. This is a topic that, for some reason, has been following me. It chose me, to be honest. I didn't choose it. So, but I think that, as Roberto mentioned in his intro, this is something a little not too common. We don't really speak about this topic a lot. And I felt like when we first envisioned in starting this podcast, we would get to a point where we would talk about these vulnerable topics and create this space and just share our experiences. And if it hits, if it resonates with people, our listeners, just so that they know that they are not alone, then I think that this will be something that they could turn back to whenever they're feeling down or something, or they feel alone. They could come back, watch this episode, and be like, I bet, like this is something that's quote unquote normal per se. But why you guys want to do this episode? You have anything to add?
I mean, I'll say this: grief comes in a lot of different shapes and forms, and everybody handles it differently. But like you said, one of the things that might be more common is speaking on it. Speaking on it, letting yourself be vulnerable, or like, a lot of people, although everybody handles it their own way, there's always like a set base. Some people choose isolation. Some people choose to they are able to communicate and talk about it. Some people uh, can't do that, or they keep to themselves. Some people blow up in anger, and then that spreads out to other people. So there are many different ways that people deal with grievances, and that it can go anything. Grieve is to lose, is to mourn a loss, whether that's a relationship or it's a person or a job, a home, a lifestyle, whatever it might be, friendship. Um, yeah, it's a deep topic. For example, we were supposed to record yesterday, actually, and I wasn't in the mindset of recording yesterday. I don't know if you guys knew exactly what day it was yesterday, but yesterday was June 10th, and it marked 2 years since Mickey. And Mickey's my dog, or was my dog, and I had him for 15 years. Mad grateful for it, and I didn't even know it was gonna hit like that. So, um, I have friends that they have lost pets and family members and all those things, and everything hits very differently. And I think when it comes to grieving too, if it's not something that's their day to day, doesn't really hit you until you realize, oh shit, this is not here anymore. So, like I lost one of my favorite uncles years ago, and when it happened, I felt sad. I was like, damn, that sucks. I'm gonna see him again. I'm not gonna hear him again, and all those things. And I went, dude, I think it might have been COVID years, but it didn't really sit with me until I saw his daughters, and then I sat with them. I was like, damn, yo, they lost their pops, like, and that really like, you know, out of empathy, I felt even more grief when it came to that, and I could only imagine their pain, type of thing. So I'm here because it's honestly it's a big ass topic that everybody goes through. I think it's worth speaking about, and I'm fortunate enough to have people because this isn't the first time we talk about grievances. The four of us, we have that comfort with each other. So I'm grateful that I'm able to actually do this in front of a camera, know that other people are listening, but still feel comfortable because of the people I'm speaking to. So I think that's my reason for being here tonight.
Yeah, well said for both of you. For me, it's a little bit of what both of you said. You know, I do feel the comfort in talking to you guys. I feel the comfort in being on the camera and talking to the world who's listening. But also opening that space for them to just listen, reflect, and see that it's okay to talk about it, and not just take it in by themselves and deal with it alone, um, and just be vulnerable. You know, we've all experienced some type of grief. Like Irvin said, there are many different types of grief, whether it's relationships, whether it's losing someone, friendships, your own type of lifestyle. I think we've all been through some variation of each one. And, you know, we've had each other to pick each other up along every step of the way through all our grieving processes and all that stuff. Um, so I like that we're touching on such a big topic, but a topic that isn't really discussed as often as maybe it should be when it comes to everyday life in society and things like that. Especially with the quote unquote the fakeness that you show on social media, where you show this facade of I got it all together, I'm good. In reality, we don't have it all together. So we're allowing people into our space a little bit and letting them see like, hey, we go through shit, man, and it's not easy. It's tough. Sometimes like Irv said, sometimes we feel it on a random day. Um, and I know we're gonna get into like different grieving stuff, but you know, Irvin mentioned Mickey losing him 2 years ago. I'm going through a situation with my dog who I've had for he's gonna be 13 in a couple weeks, and we're hoping he can make it to his birthday. Because he's going through so he has cancer, so he's going through some stuff. I had to carry him up the stairs today because he couldn't make it up after going outside. Um, so it's the timing of this is almost too good. So I think it'll be good to kind of just maybe let it out.
I agree. Just to add on, yeah, definitely have probably experienced all those types of different phases, and situations of grief. And I'm pretty much here just to kind of like let it out. Cause man, do we hold a lot of stuff in, and nobody really knows like the day to day or the year to year stuff that we hold in, and how we try to cope with it. I try to like laugh it off and just like roll with the punches, but deep down that shit, be killing me, feel guilty, and just yeah, all that type of stuff. So I'm just here to conversate and see how far um we can take this conversation basically.
Yeah, and just to add on, like I like what you said there, Hasia. We all deal with grief differently. Some of us we like to laugh in certain like serious situations. Some of us we're comfortable crying like right away, or some of us we hold it in and then it just comes and sneaks up on us later on, and then so I think it'll be an interesting dynamic between all of us to see like what differences and what similarities we have with dealing with um, our experiences with grief. Pero nah, I guess let's get to the nitty gritty part. We're about to get a little bit more serious, but like I guess, what was your first experience with a like your glimpse of grief, like a certain situation that y'all felt like, oh man, like this deep sorrow. Like,
So I'll go ahead and I'll take the lead on this one because I thought about this question, even though it was presented not too long ago. But I thought about this question, and back in when I lived in Puerto Rico, there's my great grandfather. We be think this dude when he would come visit to New York. I lived on the 31st floor, the buildings on 178th and Audubon, right there, big ass project buildings right in front of the bridge, and he would deliberately go up and down these steps. So every time he came to visit, that was my dog. I was with this dude all day. I think that's why me and old people get along so well. Cause ever since that, like I've always known how to like fuck with old people. So we always go up and down the stairs. He'd be like, let's go to the park. I hated beans. He would like eat my beans on my plate. My mom called us one time. She was like, "¿Qué tú haces? Necesito su vitamina." And I'm like, yo, leave him alone. He's like, whatever. But anyway, that guy, me and him was tight. He would, I don't even know half the conversations we had because I was like 9 years old when these things were happening. But I remember that he would always have like I'd be in his little shed and we would have deep conversations because I would remember how serious he would be. And obviously, if I was old, I was able to reply to him. But he was my first experience with grief. Like one day, I just saw him collecting cans because that's what he did. He didn't want to die like in bed doing nothing. He wanted to actually be doing something. He would pay my grandmother rent, so he would collect cans. And like you would see on the side of the house, just mad bags of cans. And one day, everybody was over at the crib. Like his casket was there, was an open casket, was in the crib, was in Puerto Rico. And there's a lot of people crying and they're sad. I'm like, what are you guys crying about? What's going on? And I'm a little old at this point, but to me, this is my best friend at the time that is not responsive. So it didn't really sit with me until like a couple days later, where I was just like, all right, the dude's not here for real. Like I had seen people, I've known people that passed away. People have told me people passed away, but that was my deepest understanding of it. That was when I was grieving. I was actually sad and I was like, yo, where's he at? And I was like, damn, he's really not here. And I would go over to his crib and lay on his bed. And this is me. I was in fourth grade in Puerto Rico and I didn't have anybody really over there. I didn't have any friends. I didn't really hang out with people. Los muchachos del barrio, like I would, at best case, it was more like defending myself for my life type thing because I would actually be involved in fights with them and stuff like that. And most we play tag, but this was my dog. And that was like the first instance I realized, like, yo, somebody so deep. So in the beginning, I said that I don't think that grief really settles in unless you have something that you have all the time and then it just comes away, or unless there's a pivotal moment with it. If you just hear about, oh, this person passed, you're like, oh, damn, that grief might not hit you, even if you were connected to that person. If it's not an involvement, a thorough involvement, I don't think it really hits like that. So that is my first instance with it, with understanding and actually being sad over it. 9 years old and like being like, oh, where's he at? This was actually right at the turn of the year 2000. He died collecting cans, which is why as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is dope. Like, he passed away doing like, he was like, I don't want to be in bed. He was passed away just collecting cans. And from what I recall, he went peaceful into the night. He was just out doing his thing. He stopped for a pit stop, and then that's it. Heart failed. It was 89, so it was his time. Just as a kid, you lose your best friend like that.
Yeah.
So that might be my biggest grief moment when I was in my youth.
I think for me, I mean, we're talking about grieving, losing someone in terms of grief. That was pretty recent when I lost my grandfather, who's really the only grandfather I've ever like acknowledged or known. Um, Losing him was hard. This was and I remember the day he passed, it was actually the Yankees were going to play the Red Sox. It was October 5th, a couple years ago now. It was just it was weird because they had told us that he was going to pass, and then he lasted another like year or so, and he was good, and then all of a sudden his health declined again. And like I remember I didn't get the phone calls because I was sleeping. It was in the middle of the night, and Yo-Yo actually woke me up. My wife woke me up because my sister called her, like, "Yo, wake him up. This just happened." So I remember I used to live across the street from my grandmother, so I ran over and I saw him, and I was like, "The fuck do I do?" Like I didn't know how to like act. I didn't know how to react. And I've seen like people, like Irvin said, I've seen people, and it's just it was like family, friends, or whatever. So it never really impacted me. This was the first time that I can remember that I've actually lost someone that actually meant like the world to me. And it really shook me. Like even my colleagues at work were like, "Yo, you're just not yourself anymore." And it's just, even now, like the other day, I was watching the video of the gender reveal for my first kid, and for some reason, I like zoomed in a little bit, and it actually caught my grandfather like celebrating once the blue powder came out of the ball, and it was a boy, and like it was instant tears, bro, like waterworks galore. And I have those moments still, and it's not, it still isn't easy. I feel like with losing someone, you don't really ever get over it. You just kind of learn to live with it and you accept the fact that they've passed. At least this is for me. This is my experience with it. Um, but yeah, that's probably the first time I feel like, damn, I really lost someone that meant so much to me.
I love that you have a memory with such deep importance of him celebrating, by the way. Because a lot of times we get caught up in the death part of it. We forget the beauty of the life, of the moments in life that you live. And without death, those moments really, they don't, you just said like you zoomed in, you caught them right there.
Like I wasn't even zooming in to see him. It was just
It
like
was just,
it just happened and it
and you
landed
caught
right
'em.
on him. And I was like, wow. And then
That's
him and my son became like best friends, which was even crazier. And it
Wow.
was just like I have pictures and screenshots of them talk. Like my son would ask me to call just to see him on video. Like one of those, and it was like, so
it's beautiful, bro.
yeah.
Wow. Hasio, you want to go next, or you want me to
Mm.
go?
I could go. I was just trying to figure out which one was like the most impactful one for me. Um, whether it was like a relative or somebody I'd known. And I think the one that maybe broke me the most was when my father's sister passed, my aunt. She had breast cancer. She passed from breast cancer. But the timing of it, so I was in Buffalo. I was living in Buffalo. And my partner was pregnant. And I think my daughter was born. No, my partner was pregnant and I knew she was like, and I wanted to go visit my aunt. And it was like Christmas time. Um, and I didn't make it in time to see her before she passed away. Um, and then all I could remember thinking was like, yo, my daughter's never gonna meet her. She's never gonna meet my daughter. And that like just hurt me so much. Like I couldn't like put it into perspective, to be honest, at the time. And recently it was her like her annual birthday. Like they put in the group chat like, oh, rest in peace to my aunt, because this would have been her whatever birthday. And it's like every time it happens, like it just brings flashbacks like of that moment that like I saw a video of her that her son recorded like in her last moments when he's there with her and like holding her hand and stuff and telling her everything's gonna be okay. And yeah, it was just a lot to process at the time. And it still is, because never got to see her again. Um and it just sucks because, that's just how life be sometimes. But like, I try to honor her memory and show the pictures to my kids, like, oh, this was your aunt, my dad's sister. She was the one that used to look out for me the most on my father's side, growing up. Because she lived on 143rd and Broadway. Um, and I lived on 140th. My dad lived like on 149 and Riverside. So every time my dad would pick me up and take me to his house and stuff like that, usually it will end up at my aunt's house because he always used to go like every day. Um, so I'll go see my cousins, their kids and all of that, play with them, have like the best time, and then go home. And that was like how I bonded with a lot of my family members from my father's side because they would all go there. Um, and then eventually she ended up moving to the Bronx on 161st, around 163rd. Um, and we used to go there, and that's where I met other members of my family. And I just like remember her being like the focal point of me getting to know my father's side of my family because they never really like looked for me and stuff like that. But when I used to go there, that's when I would meet them because my dad has a whole other family. So, um, it was just like interesting to me and it was just very impactful to me because, she will be like, ah, sí, ¿cómo tú estás, mi hijo? Y tu mamá, this and that, muy cariñosa. And like she's not there. So I always wanted my daughter to meet her and it never happened and the rest of my kids. So I think that's the most impactful one for me. And it's been like 10 years now and I'm still tearing up over it. So uh yeah, that's the one that did it for me. That made me like realize like, yo, shit is real. Life is like much grander than what I think it is, and we should really appreciate the people that we have around us and the ones we love. Mm, Yeah, I'll share more stories later.
Thank you for sharing, bro. I think you guys know probably which one is the most impactful for me, but and it was probably my very first experience with like real grief. And so my cousin Darlin, he was 20 years of age when he passed. For context, him and I, you know, we pretty much saw each other from the ages of 6 to 11. We saw each other every single Saturday. Whenever my parents would go to work, they would drop me off in his house in 140th between, Broadway and Hamilton and Haciel's block. And we also used to go to school together, elementary school. And with this dude, I used to come to his house and I used to catch him like in a vulnerable time. Like he used to be folding clothes and doing a lot of stuff. So I actually learned how to fold clothes with him first time. We used to order Chinese food all the time. He actually was the first person to teach me how to share because I was a fat kid. I didn't know I didn't know the concept of sharing, but he was like, "No, you get two wings." And he used to like, compartmentalize the fries. I was like, "Oh shit, okay, deal." So like, I learned a lot from this dude, and like, he also made me fall in love with like the sport of baseball a lot. We used to play a lot of sports. Um, but as we grown older, like in our teenage years, we kind of like we still were like very like we were close knit, but not as close. We kind of drifted apart slightly. Um, we used to like I guess hang out with whoever we were going to school with and stuff like that. So we kind of drifted apart like in junior high school type thing. But no malice, nothing. We both kind of every time we saw each other, it was like nothing changed. He would tell me stories about whatever was going on in the block. Like I felt like I never missed an event because he was a very good storyteller. And then he went away for college. He got a scholarship to play baseball, and in one of his practices, um, after practice, they went to a lake, and he basically he he went on a swim with one of his teammates, and I think that it's possible that he could have like either he caught a cramp or I think something like he had like a heart attack in the midst of that swim. So then he drowned. I heard the news from my neighbor. It was like 2:30 a.m. on a Saturday. So I was gonna be prepared to go to church, to go to work and stuff. So I went to sleep early. And when I heard the news, I was like, at first I was like, because there's a few, he has two other siblings. He was the youngest. So I'm thinking like, all right, which sibling is she talking about? Is she really referring to him? And she was like, yeah, it's him, because they went to school together. So I was like, I knew that she would know. So at first it was a shock, as you can imagine. I don't think I quite processed it, you know. But then once that funeral hit, and there was so many people there, but when I saw my aunt and my uncle, like that's when I was like I just broke down, like broke down. Like to this day, I don't think I've ever cried like that in my life. Like I ugly cried for I don't even know throughout the whole event. It was crazy. It was insane. And I think I still was in a shock period at that time. Like I don't think I fully had a grasp of what this thing was, but it was insane because when you see that person in a casket, you just see them like they're just sleeping. So in the casket, one of his boys was like, "Yo, wake up!" And that shit had everybody was like broken down, tearing. Like it was very intense, very very intense experience. Um, and it's similar to how he mentioned that it happened like 10 years ago, over a decade ago. This happened like 15 years ago, and I still don't feel like I don't think you ever get. We're gonna touch base on this probably later on, but I don't think you can ever get over grief, like a loss of a person. I don't think you could ever. That's something that you don't get over. You know, you can learn how to cope with it, but it's something that's just not gonna. It's uh, you're never gonna get over that. But on a positive note, we do hold a memorial softball tournament for him every year on his birthday. And I think once I see everybody together, everybody that we grew up with, and the whole community coming together just to celebrate this dude's life, it's so beautiful, man. It really is. But yeah, that's definitely the grief that the hardest grief that I had to deal with. And but that brings me to my next I guess the next section of all of this is that how how did we deal with it? Like, how did we deal with these experiences? Like in the short term, long term, how did we cope with these? Like, I don't know if you want me to go first or.
I just want to make a comment on what we just spoke about. Just to
Hmm.
you see how as you were talking, you ended up reminiscing and you were like, this taught me how to share. Chicken with you, chicken with me because I didn't share. And I still was like, I got to meet my side of the family, my dad's side, because they kind of didn't do that. And then Roberto was like, I saw him celebrate, and Jeter would actually want to call him. These are things that make that these are the sides of death that people when you're grieving, you kind of like don't really recall those things. It doesn't matter. It's like damn, I'm never gonna get to do this, never gonna do that. As time goes by, because the point that you made at the end, you said you don't really ever get over it. You might not ever really get over it. You don't really want to, but you, like Roberto said, you accept it. You accept that it happened, and you get to look back. And it's up to you if you want to think about that person could have done 10 bad things, but we always look back and we try to we focus on like brought me closer to my family, taught me how to share my wings. Met my son. So I think it's real beautiful when you're able to look back on somebody's life and be like, yo, this person impacted me this way. Because then that leads you to understand why you actually went through that grieving process. So I feel like it's very it wasn't scripted. We just all naturally during the speaking that we had, we all brought up a positive influence, a positive memory that came with it, even though we're talking about a sad moment. I think that shit is I think that shit is deep.
Yeah, and I think that happens with time too. I think that like a little
Absolutely.
bit of time needs to pass by for you to kind of really.
And then you guys have that memorial softball game that happens every year. And God willing, it doesn't just stop. People understand the reason why it happens. I think that's one of the beautiful things about being in the hood and being part of your community and shit like that. When they can keep you alive like that, that shit is great. Because dude passed away at the age of 20
Yeah.
playing college baseball. Like, you think about shit like that, and it's like shit. 15 years later, I'm still here, and we live 3 blocks away from each other. So it's like, damn. And I'm sorry, I know you asked that other question. Honestly, I forgot what it was because that was on my mind. That would have stuck on my mind the whole
No,
time.
I'm glad you intervened. Can always intervene.
I think it's how we cope with it, right? Uh, I don't think I ever coped with it with some of the losses or the grievances I have. I don't think I honestly I just cried it out, um, and just like try to pick up the pieces. Um, yeah, because like I'm thinking about my situation with my aunt. I don't think I've like coped with it. I haven't even seen her kids. I haven't seen them like probably since. So like I talk to them through chat and stuff, but like it's just weird now. I don't know how to say it. Um
It goes
uh,
back
uh
to her being the link, I guess, because you did mention she was like the link between everybody,
mhm.
not a focal point, the bridge.
But I have another experience. But I don't know. So I had a friend um because you mentioned like a lot of stupid shit, but you still remember the good things. So I had a friend that I grew up with, and he used to be like a badass kid type of friend, right? Like always doing rebelling and shit like that. But like there was something I saw in him that just made me like feel comfort, or I could just see where he was coming from type of feeling. And his name was Elias. And I don't know if I should say, but he was doing some things that he probably shouldn't have done, and he eventually passed away at a young age as well. This was a while ago already. Um, but like what I started remembering when he passed away, was a lot of the stupid shit that he was doing, and like how I was like the big brother to him because I was older than him, but he was like bigger than me and taller than me. And I always like lo regañaba. I'm like, yo, why are you doing that? Da, da, da. You shouldn't be doing that. You know better, and you know, give him a pass or whatever. But just that bond that I had and that love I have for him is like one of the reasons why I named my son Elias. I named him after him to keep his memory alive. Um, because like I would be sleeping, this dude would ring the doorbell. My mom would let him in. I don't know why. And he would just come like wake me up, like slap me in the ass and shit, and wake me up like, "Yo, let's go outside. Let's go to the park."
I
And
don't
I'm
know
just like,
why.
yeah, I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? Oh man. And this was like a thing, yo. So man. So when he passed away, man, that shit just like it broke me. But like his funeral also brought all our friends together. Um and coping with it, I think I coped with it by I talked to his sister a lot. And like we definitely lean on each other and remembering him. Um And I also like made a promise kind of to him, to myself, to like always look after her. And like try to be there supportive of her because like we all grew up together. Um, so like she had a kid, I helped her with the baby shower and stuff like that. And just that's I think how I kind of cope with it, like not trying to forget about it. Like just remember the good times and when I think about him, I'll hit her up, like, hey, I thought about your brother, thought about you and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of how I cope with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think the coping for me, I think I just accept it and I just try to remember like the good times and all that stuff. One funny thing is like my son, like I told you guys, he was best friends with my grandfather. He didn't really care for my grandmother, who's still alive now. We just celebrated her 89th birthday. Um, Jeter didn't really like mess with her like that. But once my grandfather passed, it was like instant love for her, like this crazy love for her that he had to this day. Like she walks into a room, he says, F everyone, I'm going straight to her. So I don't know if that was, I don't know how that happened because Jeter was very young when my grandfather passed. He was probably like 2 or 3. Um, so I find that funny that though he is the way he is with my grandmother now after my grandfather passed. Um, but me coping with it, I don't know, man. It's just like I said, I still cry about him every once in a while. I'll listen to the song that really gets me is Ghost by Justin Bieber. Once that song
Mm,
comes on, forget it. Se jodió
writ-
todo.
written by John Bellion.
Yeah, once the song comes on, it's a wrap. I know that waterworks are gonna start. But that was actually one of the first songs that me and my cousins listened to after he passed too.
You know, why that song was what it was inspired from?
I do not.
It was because the dude that wrote it, he lost his grandma.
Wow.
That was actually the reason for that song.
Bueno, it
That's what
hits.
inspired it.
I mean, I know you got the eat true on shit, B.
Yeah, it
I just learned
definitely
that this
hits.
week.
You've been doing your research. You've been prepping. I told you that's what we hear.
It chose me. I told you.
But yeah, yeah, you just kind of learn to go with it. Recently my wife lost her grandmother, who was basically her second mom. It was her everything. Really the only grandparent in general that she's really had. Grew up with her, like she was her safe haven. She would run to her when her parents were getting into it. Anytime there was anything going on, she knew where to go. And this woman, I love her. Like she took me in from the moment me and my wife started dating. It was like I was family. She could not remember my name to her very last moment, but she knew when I walked in, she already had, like, for me, like, she used to make bacalaitos for Yo-Yo. I don't eat that. So she started making corn on the cob for me. So every time she'd call Yo, come through. I'll make some bacalaitos. Oh, and I'll make some corn for him. So that's I have my corn on the cob, like
Man,
on
it's spoiled,
lock,
see?
bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in her last moments, like she was having conversations with me. Other people would walk in. She pretend she was sleeping, but the moment they walked out, it was straight conversations with me again. Um, so that was a really hard loss for me. But I think sometimes you go through things to help other people go through stuff. And having the experience of losing someone like my grandfather allowed me to be there for my wife in a way that I don't think I could have been if I didn't experience such a great loss at first.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, obviously it's very fresh still for her, but helping her to manage, helping her to cope, letting her know that it's okay to keep crying and just, feel what you got to feel, girl, because it's not, you just lost someone who means everything to you and you don't have to get over that.
I just wanted to like piggyback off of that, because I lost my grandfather, I think like maybe 2019-ish. Yeah, like Eden was like around 3 years old. And we flew down to Boca Raton, Florida for his funeral and all that. And I took Eden to, experience the funeral with us. Just so she knows, like, introduce her to death so that we can all embrace it and stuff like that. And his body was so cold. But I say that to say, then my partner lost her grandparent like during the pandemic, so like a year or two after. But I was able, because I had gone through the process and was able to process the feeling and all of those things. I was able to support her in what she was experiencing. Like, yeah, I totally understand what you're going through. So, just gotta let them grieve and all that. So I just wanted to mention that's a really good example. Because I kind of went through something similar with, I went through it first, and then I was able to help her go through the process as well.
Can I follow up on that?
Go for it.
How did your kids deal with losing someone? Like, I don't know if they knew your grandfather and stuff like that, or
No, they didn't know him. But they, hmm, I guess she didn't really understand at the time that much. Like she understood that that was my grandfather, and that they weren't awake anymore. Like they were just there stiff, cold. And for the most part, we were just there like in silence, just kind of like observing. I think my aunt like sang some song. I don't really know what song it was, but it was like, never knew my aunt could sing till that day. And then I remember like everybody kind of like just held him one last time. I gave him like a kiss on the forehead, and we all like walked off. But like I think she understands the concept a lot more now because she went through it. Um, but back then she was like very, what's going on, um, and just observing, to be honest, like just soaking it in.
yeah, with my son, he didn't understand it when my grandfather passed, but when my wife's grandmother passed, he felt it. Because again, we were visiting, a couple times a month for the bacalaitos and the corn on the cob. So, um, knowing like he hasn't been to a funeral yet, um, but he felt that loss. Like he would cry. Even now, he was like kind of mention it, tear up a little bit, and things like that. So that's why I was wondering how your kids cope with it, because we're now introducing, unfortunately, to death, and he's experiencing it. And now with our dog being sick and him losing somebody else who's basically family or best friend to him, it's, that's a challenge, I think, for a parent,
Yeah.
like introducing your children to losing people.
A huge. I bet that's a huge challenge. A huge, huge challenge. It's
Especially if they built that bond. Like when Mickey passed 2 years ago, I told you guys that I when I mentioned it to Landon, Landon knew Mickey when Landon was one. and he took it hard. I honestly, I didn't think he was gonna cry. I didn't think he was really gonna feel like that. I don't know if that's me being insensitive, me being selfish with that grief. Like that's my grief. What you doing, little nigga? But he, like, he was like, "What do you mean?" And he started crying, and I was just like, him crying made me cry. And I tried to be soft about it too. I was like, "Hey, Mickey's this," and he was like, "What do you mean?" And Lando was like 6 or 7, so I put it to him in like those terms. Like, what happens is that, and I try to be as real as possible so that he understands that we everybody ages differently. We packed in a lot of joy in Mickey's life. Mickey was really happy, and Mickey was really. And I even told him, I was like, Mickey, you and Mickey saw you like one of his best friends. He's like, really? After he cried, it kind of made him stop crying. And I was like, Mickey saw you was one of his best friends. Like, really? I was like, yeah. He was showing it to me all the time. Like, I would be hugging him, and he'd be looking for you. He'd be like, really? Yeah. And I kind of like softened the blow for him because maybe he thought it was one sided, but Mickey did he would be like upset with him when he was younger. Because I think it was that you're a little person, I'm an adult. And then once the Landon got bigger, Landon was like, man, you a little guy. Mickey would be looking for him. Mickey'd be like, yo, where my dog's at? So it's interesting how you, as a parent, you don't want to tell them something harshly, but you gotta tell them what's up because at some point they're gonna question you. And you don't want them to be all of 18 years old talking about, hey, what's this about? I mean, then it's just weird at that point. But hoping is interesting because it looks different for everyone. Not just like I said in the beginning, not just with death. Yeah, I think one of the worst things that we can experience is grieving la muerte en vida. Like when you do lose yourself. So it's interesting that that's one of our. I know we're getting into it later. We'll elaborate more later, but losing yourself or losing someone, ending a relationship that was like really important to you because there really is so many facets to it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we're obviously hitting one that is unavoidable. Every other sense of grief is technically in your control to a certain extent. How you react to it, really, your bounce back, all those things. That is the only one that's a certainty,
Mm-hmm.
completely out of your control. So I think it's the reason why we always lean towards talking about that one or like that. That is the hardest one to like cope with in general. Like if you lose a relationship, you can start writing, you get a hobby. If you lose a job, you get another one. If there's always something you can do with every other sense of grief, but this one right here is deep. So the way you handle death is huge. Like I don't get angry with death. I kind of just isolate. And I gotta have my own space and I'll cry when I cry. When I lost my grandmother on my father's side specifically, I was really sad because every time I would see her, Dios te bendiga, but she was always in the same spot. So I would always visit, go to Ohio, always in the same spot. When I woke up in the morning, during the afternoon, whenever I needed a hug, I always knew where to find her. I always knew her bedtime. Everything was routine. The first time I visited over there after her death and that seat was empty, I sat on that seat and I sat next to that seat, put my hand on the armrest, and I started bawling my eyes out. Like I'm talking about uncontrollable. It was like 2 in the morning. Nobody was awake, and I'm just there crying, talking to her because it was like, wow. Same thing with I don't have any grandparents alive, so same thing with my grandmother on my mother's side. Except I was with her. I would go to casinos with her. I would go she would take care of me. She would cook for me. I would make limber with her when I was out in Puerto Rico. So me and her was hustling in these streets selling limber is a frozen treat. I don't know. I believe it's Puerto Rican, but she'd be like, yo, dile a los vecinos que ya terminé los limber. And I would announce it to the neighborhood. And people would come pouring in and she'd be like, here, she'd give me a quarter for my work. So like me and her, we was tight. We go to the casino. I actually got a picture with her, my mother, my girl at the time, and we all went to the casino because my girl at the time, my grandmother, enferma con el casino. You can't get those women out of there. That's fun to them to be on the penny slots for 4 or 5 hours and shit like that. Pero um we went over to Puerto Rico in 2021, I believe it was. And that she had made a year of being dead at that point. And when I stepped foot into her house and I saw everything the same exact way it was back when I was 7, 8 years old, I was like, wow, that's crazy. I'd cried pretty immediately, but nothing crazy. I was with my mother, and my mother was really going through it. But when I stepped foot into that house, that's another thing. So I don't think it's the healthiest thing I do, that I just like self isolate and I don't really like reach out. But at the same token, I don't think it's good for me to just throw it onto somebody else because I don't know what they're going through. So I always like to process what I have going on. How is it that I feel? Let me get the initial shock value of it out, and then I'll talk about it. It doesn't take me long to like for that little bounce back, but as time goes on, like I think Sage alluded to this, it becomes more of a positive feeling. Like, yeah, I lost them and I can't build any more memories with them. But how dope is it that my grandmother's like, yo, let the neighborhood know we got that crack on deck. I'm out, 8 years old, knocking on people's doors, and they all happy to see me. They're like, "Oh, tiene de coco, tiene de cherry, tiene." De-" I'm like, hey, "We got it all, boy. Get down there, B." Some of them would be like, "Yo, here you go. Here's $1. Get me two." And then it'd be, "Here's $1. Get me two." And some of them were 25 cents. So I'd pocket 50 cents for my delivery. Yo, I used to make like $4, B. $4 for my my day of work. So I think about stuff like that.
Bringing bringing joy to the streets.
Yeah, son. And like she would be like, vete a la joya y búscame guineo, because we had mad banana trees in the back. And I'll come back on ramo de guineo. It was dope, son. She saw me climbing a tree one time. She said, get your ass down. She was the first one to darme un cantazo con un ramo. She took that branch B. But I appreciate, like, I look back at stuff like that. I'm like, yo, I was so fortunate to have her as long as I did, have both my grandmas as long as I did. I didn't meet my grandfather on my dad's side, but I feel like my great grandfather was the first person I spoke about. He blended into that role just fine, and he was more than what I could have asked for from a great grandfather. Like, dude should have, I mean, been gone. No offense to my man's, but great grandfather, that's a privilege to be able to see these generations and stuff like that. You get to that point, it's like, so as an adult, I know that accepting that to see the beauty in life, you have to understand that death is coming. We're all we're all getting older. Literally, we're older now than when we started this podcast. Everybody's getting older, and everybody's getting closer to death. Or is everyone just living a full life? So you could choose to focus on whichever one you want to focus on, but accepting that death is inevitable, that it is gonna come, kind of allows you to look at people and be like, yo, you know what? Let me embrace the moment of the moment of today. And it's something that I've been like thinking about because I don't really talk to too many people. And like I just saw my cousin the other day. I was working with Cesar, and I'm like, yo, it felt good to see my cousin. I ain't seen my cousin in years, and it's like, what? Next time I'm gonna see her is gonna be at a funeral. Like that shit doesn't even sound fair or right. So I think accepting that death is inevitable kind of leads you to stay connected with people. I think Hasio mentioned something like that too. So that's what I do. I isolate. Give me ISO ball.
Yeah. And before I even start talking about how I cope, I just want to say Mickey was such a dope dog, man. Like he really was one of the most joyful dogs I ever met. Um, very like he was like very well trained because like I remember one time I had to like take him to like the airport to meet with his dad. And and I know that he had a lot of anxiety because of the train. He's probably not used to it a lot, but like he did so well, man. Like he really did so well. Like he was shaking a little bit, but he was never like it was never like he was like being a how can I put this? Like he wasn't being a burden to anybody in the train. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't making a show. He was just there like a little nervous. Obviously some people were like, "Oh, look at the baby, whatever," and he was just there like, "I'm scared right now, but I'll give you a little lick." Like Mickey was such a dope dog, and Rondo too, man. The first time I met Rondo, this dude sat on my foot.
That's his
He
move.
marked you.
Like,
Like you're
he
my
just parked
property.
there, and he's like, "Yep, this is my new spot." So I thought that was
Yep.
cool.
That's mad intrusive of him to put his ass up on shoes, bro.
Yep.
Not even shoes. We used to take our shoes off at the entrance, so it's all up on our feet, just
Yep.
where I'm at.
Well, I didn't even like dogs until I got introduced to Rondo, and this dude would just follow me around the house and then jump on the couch. He would sit on my shoulder. I got a picture of him sitting on my shoulder. I'm like, bro, why are you even near me right now? I don't even like dogs. And then next thing you know, I'm in bed cuddling with him every morning and crazy.
Dogs are great. I say it all the time, man. Dogs and babies, nothing should ever come. No danger or harm should ever come to dogs or babies, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring more life, more joy to them as well.
Yes, you get, bro.
For sure.
I appreciate that. Mickey definitely one of them boys, B. I miss my man. And Rondo, like you, much like you, I think Rondo's just like that with a lot of people. I don't know anybody else, pero Rondo me dio mi amor desde el principio. The only time he kind of looked at me funny, and it wasn't even like that, was when Mickey went over there. But Mickey was already like
Yeah.
getting to that old age where he was like, yo, stop fucking with me, bro. And I think Rondo was coming a la vuelta, algo así.
Oh man. Yeah, but nah, I just had to say that. Now back to the coping thing. So I think we focus a lot on death with this part of the grief episode. And I think the thing that's distinguishes death from the other types of griefs is that is a void that we're not gonna be able to fill up. Like, and I think that's where we a lot of times um we can lose ourselves if we decide to have those expectations of that we can fill it up with someone else, or like trying to fill up that void. I think, Roberto, you said it like very early on. Like the first thing you do is accept. Acceptance is like so important. Like, and Urban also did, like, I think he articulated it very well. Like just putting things into perspective. Life and death, it's a part of life. We're all gonna go to that same destination at some point. And the faster that we can accept that, the more we can kind of move on to the next step of our healing phases with grief. Um, and I think what helps me when some time passes, I do a little bit of similarity to what Herb said, is that I do isolate a bit. I do need some time to kind of like be alone with my thoughts and just like, kind of just to have a moment with me, so that if I do need to release emotions, I could just do it. I'm in my safe zone, like, and then eventually I'll be able to kind of like, all right, let me talk about this, with my loved ones in my safe space. I think having a safe space is a good entitlement to have. And I think it's a great outlet for that I've been fortunate to have. The next step I would do, over time, and that's similar to what Herb was saying as well, is like, I think Roberto mentioned the thing about a song that reminds you of them. So with my cousin, the song that reminds me of him is like a song we used to listen to when I used to go over his house. Remember Music Choice?
Ooh.
We used to watch Music Choice videos. And the video that we had on repeat was that Alicia Keys Diary, the live version with Tony Tone Tone ahí going off. That joint. Every time that comes on, bro, and it's like I don't even feel sadness. I just feel joy because it's like I'm back there again. I'm back in his room again. And I'm having a good time. And also when I walk by the block, it doesn't feel the same. Like the aura on the block completely changed. But I do catch myself sometimes wanting to, like, I go up the block and I go to like the backyard, and I will stare at that backyard and just picture myself, that little kid that used to play baseball. We used to play baseball there, and just like Like, and it's crazy because it's so narrow. Like to me, it's just mind boggling that we used to like have full. We used to run full games in this spot, pitching mad hard. But like
That
that,
is dumb small, B.
yeah. And it's like the crazy thing is that you would have to hit the ball straight. Like you have to hit the ball straight. Like if you hit it sideways or hit the wall, it would like ricochet.
Or the windows. No,
Windows.
no llevo el edificio al lado.
Sí, pero tú sabes que yo ni cuenta me di de esa ventana. You know? No sé. I don't think we ever hit a window.
Que se joda.
But the fact that we were little kids and we were able to like just aim straight,
That's true.
that was pretty cool. But like remembering those moments is how I feel like it makes it easier for me to cope with the with the deaths. There's also something I think I don't know if this even exists, but it just came to mind. But there's also a thing called secondhand grief. When you see somebody that
Oh, okay, yeah.
when you see somebody that you love and they lost somebody. So I went through a situation where like, you know, my partner that I used to live with, her dad passed away, you know, and this dude, I didn't really know him that well, but the little that I knew of him, when I saw him like healthy and stuff, he was such a joyful man, and like he just seemed so genuine, so pure hearted. Like I could see like why he's so loved in that family. And it turned out like once he got really sick, he had to like move in with us in his last days. So I had to kind of like really see him, you know, kind of deteriorate, um, like face to face, basically. So I had to be strong enough to kind of be there for my partner at the time. I think that's something else that also a lot of people, you know, they go through. Like secondhand grief is also a thing. That shit impacted me a lot. That's probably the second death that impacted me the most, and it's because it I kind of saw like the last days of it happening slowly. So like the first one was a shock, and this one was like it kind of like marinated. And so yeah, that's another type of grief that a lot of us we deal with, and both of them are as equally difficult to deal with to kind of like cope with. So but yeah, I think honestly the most important thing with dealing with a loss is having that acceptance, giving yourself your time, um, and having people around you that love you, that you feel safe enough to speak about it and stuff, and then also getting to a point where you can kind of celebrate their life instead of mourn their death.
Before we switch gears off of death and jump into other types of grief, this is a question, and this is only because I've been through it, so I want to kind of throw it out there. Have you ever been in a situation or have grieved something that you haven't physically seen?
Yes.
And how did you cope with it, for lack
All
of
right.
better words?
Are you referring to
So for me, I'm referring
a
to
miss? A
the
miss?
miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
losing
yeah.
a baby. So we've been
Yeah.
through a miscarriage before we had our second child. And, you know, I know I spoke about this in previous episodes, but that was tough because like for us, we fell in love and we made all these plans and we were so excited. And we're in love with something that we've never seen, met, looked at, spoken to us, looked at, like nothing. It's this being that you're picturing what this human is going to look like. And in our mind, it's a girl, the way we were like referring to it.
Mm.
Um, so losing it was hard. And I remember losing a lot of, this is when I was rehabbing for my knee surgery. I missed a whole month of physical therapy. I think I called out of work a bunch. I was just like, I was done. I was drained. I was done. And this is how we both were. And we never told our son that we lost the baby, but um yeah, I think that's one of the ways that we coped with it. Actually, we once time had passed, we actually released a balloon into the night
Mhm.
sky, and that was kind of us saying, okay, I think we can not move on, but this is our release. This is how we let it go. And we both cried about it and felt what we felt. Um, and then obviously we had our second kid. We had our daughter. She's 8 months today, actually, which is pretty cool.
Oh,
Um,
happy born day.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's interesting to grieve something you've never seen, but you still feel that immense and incredible love for this, like I said, this being that you've never met.
I yeah, I still catch myself grieving an unborn child. And that one actually is the one that probably sneaks up on me the most because I had to be I felt like I had to be strong for my partner at the time because it's like, you know, she's the one carrying the baby. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a different connection, you know? And I kind of just I just wanted to be strong like like for her and like I kind of like I guess I think I bottled it up a lot and I didn't realize how much effect that had on me later on. So that was something that definitely I caught myself crying about and like
Yep.
the child years later, like
Mm-hmm.
it was insane. But I think that's dope though that y'all did the balloon thing. Was that an original idea or did y'all pick
That
up
was
this idea?
just one of those things that we just, I don't even know where we got the balloon, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know if we went and got a balloon, we had one at the house. Like, I really don't know. I think someone gifted us a balloon. Actually, now that I think my sister, my older sister, might have sent us something as like an I'm sorry for your loss kind of thing.
Yeah,
And I think it was that balloon that was on that.
got you. What I did was I prayed. I prayed to that child a lot. Wherever he or she is, you know, I hope they're doing well, you know. So but it's that one's been one of the trickier ones to kind of get a hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely dealt with that as well. I cried. I think as soon as I found out and like I got in the shower and like it sunk in, I just like started bawling, thinking about like what they would have been, what they would have looked like, what we would have named them, all of those things. And I'm just like, damn, like there's nothing that I can do. It's just you just gotta like accept it, kind of, and just move on. It's just a lot of people don't share that information with others, so it's just like because it's such a touchy topic, and you never know when people just are insensitive. So
Yeah,
um I definitely cried, and I yeah, still do. So it's just a lot to think about, and I don't really know how I coped with it either. To be honest, besides the crying, uh, and just like isolating as well, kind of just hugged it out, and that was it pretty much. Like that was like the extent of it.
I've never had miscarriage, so to speak, but I did meet my daughter in my dreams several times. So if the lady I had at the time, she I really wanted her to be the mother of my child at least. And so I've already kind of envisioned that I would have a daughter. I envisioned times with her being born, me holding her, being 5 years old, her being older. So although it wasn't consummated, I I felt that loss in sense of like as time went on, it kind of I dreamt with her, but now like I don't see a face or it's blurred out or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So it went from such a clear face, and maybe I'm a little biased. She looked just like her mother. It would have looked just like her mother. But as time went on, it just started becoming a blur until eventually I just didn't dream of it. I understand it's very different to, believing or wanting that you're gonna have a baby as opposed to already knowing like, all right, it's we consummated, the sperm got to the egg, lady's pregnant. Oh, damn, lost the baby. But since we're talking about something that we haven't met or seen, I guess this is like even before that. And I can only imagine that if it impacted me like that, like all the three of you said it just fine. Like it's inside of the woman. If it impacts you guys that way, if it impacts us that way, if it impacts me that way, and it's not even, it's just a thought in my head, then I can only imagine how it impacts the woman in that case. So don't get me wrong. Not every situation. Sometimes, you hear a lot of people say, I dodged a bullet there, because if it's in the wrong situation, I'm not gonna, I guess it's the anticipation. When you want something, when there's something that's being created out of love or that would have came out of love or would have came in a good situation or something that you actually wanted, that's where the grief sets in when you don't have it. When it's something that's like, damn, kind of nervous for this to happen, it's like a sense of relief. Oh, I've never been on either side of that spectrum, but I can empathize with both sides of it. Just put myself in that position. How would I feel in that case? But that's an interesting question. The grief of something that's not actually there, that you haven't heard, you haven't experienced. It's really just your thoughts on the matter. So that's very interesting. That's a good question, B.
Yeah, man, and I'm glad you brought that up, Roberto. Thank you, because honestly,
Yeah.
it's one of those things like Haciel mentioned. Like, you know, people sometimes we're very afraid of to bring up this subject because people can be quite insensitive towards it. I don't know why. I don't know why the culture has become this way, um, but yeah, that's something that's a real that shit is real. That shit is like even though you haven't seen what that what that baby could have been or become, it still feels like it was like a real thing, like that was a real loss. It was a real like someone was in there, at least for that moment.
When y'all say insensitive, elaborate on insensitive, because I'm not quite understanding who you have run into that's like insensitive to a situation like that.
I mean, I'm not gonna call out people right now.
I'm not saying call out people. I said elaborate. we don't use any names on this podcast. I don't know if anybody's noticed. We never use any names unless it's Roberto saying my wife. And he sits up and he says, "Yo, he actually corrects himself." So we're not asking for names. We're not giving out. I didn't say who. Y'all know who I'm talking about, but I didn't say her name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo, you gotta watch the people that's closest to you. You see it trying to put me.
I'm not there. I'm not
I'm not trying to put that
there.
in.
Maybe it's because
Out.
sometimes the miscarriage or the loss of the baby might have been a decision that was made, rather than it being natural. So maybe sometimes that's where that might be like insensitive.
Judgmental.
I think what I was
Yeah.
referring to at least is like you see how I mentioned that it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people react towards it like if it wasn't a real thing. Like they try
Mm.
to downplay it.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what I'm saying.
for sure.
Like
Yeah.
that. Like
I, yeah.
okay, go ahead, Hasil.
No, I'm just thinking like I guess a lot of people that probably misogynistic men or something that might not have had children, so they're like, oh, it's just like a little dot, like whatever, like it's not kicking or breathing, doesn't have a heart yet or whatever. So those people might just be like a tad bit insensitive, and it's like, bruh, it's a being already, it's an organism, but
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, that's maybe. I don't know.
I
Sorry.
could see that because we actually had someone ask, "Oh, were you guys gonna try again?" And it's like, motherfucker, let us feel this.
Let
Yeah.
time go by.
And that's what brings me to my next question. What are some do's and don'ts with dealing with grief? Like when you have a loved one that's dealing with grief, what do you want? What do you want from them, from your loved ones? What
Like
would
if
be
you're the
something?
one grieving,
Base.
Yeah, like you're the one grieving, and then you're what would you want from your loved ones? What would you not want from them?
Go ahead, Haciel, because
yeah.
you hit on that. I'm gonna get a shot while you talking, man.
I guess like space to process whatever I'm going through as a do, and don't start question like 21 questioning me. How are
Mm,
you feeling now? How like just let me breathe and let me be in the moment and process it. Don't because I'm gonna get irritated, I guess. Like I don't know. Um, yeah, that will be my do's and don'ts. Besides that, give me time to like process it. Let me come to you and like try to talk to you about how I'm feeling. Um, don't try to pry too much. Definitely ask like, are you okay to talk about it? Like, you know, don't just like, I don't know, be an asshole
Yeah,
about it.
I think I'm with you there. I think for me, if you see me in my feelings about it, don't ask me. Like just see that I'm in my feelings and let me feel what I'm feeling. You know, if you want to sit next to me, that's fine. Just don't ask me questions. Don't, let me just feel. Give me the space to feel what I'm feeling. Um, like I will say my partner and you guys actually do exactly what I need when I'm going through like I'll vent to you guys and you guys will sometimes you just let me feel like, hey, thanks for venting, da da da. Yeah, y'all don't give me a bunch of advice. Y'all don't shower me with like, oh, you should do this, and which is like what I need. I don't need you guys to give me. I'm not looking for answers. I'm just trying to
yeah,
feel, basically.
yeah,
I think that space and that understanding goes a long way. Because it's true. Like I don't have to say anything to y'all, but I guess for the sake of podcasting, I have to elaborate. But how many hiatuses do I go on? Like, and it's not even. I might not even be going through something crazy. It might just be nothing. But y'all don't press me. Y'all don't call me. I show up and then I'm out, and then I show up and then I'm out, and nobody questions it. Every once in a while, Roberto is reaching me out on the side, yo, you good, this and this. I see I was doing the same thing. Say's are the boy. And the thing is, I'm very fortunate because I feel like the people that keep closest to me, they understand that. Like if Irv is going through something he needs to address, Irv is going to address it. Irving out here trying to. You ain't gonna get a cold salad just lettuce tomato. That shit gonna have dressing on it, and it's coming straight to you if it gotta come to you. Like I don't play those games, and I feel like that just comes with just the understanding of who you're talking to and care, empathy, love. Um, if you're the type of person that has a generic way of dealing with people, you're just gonna piss people off. Everybody has a different way that they go through stuff and all those things. Yo, if somebody starts talking about something, boom, I lean in towards what I'm saying and I'll receive what they have back. If they keep it going, then I understand, all right, I can keep going. But if I'm already seeing that they're like, or like what they're saying is not open-ended, maybe a question like, so how does that make you feel? A lot of people don't understand that makes it that goes a long way. So what do you think about? So what you gonna do now? And sometimes people just gotta like talk it out. Like you, for example, Roberto, when you come on and you say something, I really don't think that you haven't thought about it a million times. I feel like you already thought about it, you got your answers, and what you're looking to do is one of two things. Either just letting it out to find out, like, yo, am I bugging out? Or just regular, or just letting it out so that you can hear yourself. And I think you've actually said it on a voice note. You dropped like 10 minutes. We all heard it, and then like dropped like 30 seconds laughter. Like, yo, guys, I appreciate it. I think I just need to talk that shit out. Anyway, the Yankees are pissing me off. And it's like, I bet. And we start talking about the Yankees. We don't even address that. We keep it pushing, but I think that goes a long way. And it's not always the healthiest. Sometimes I will say this. We think that what we need is isolation, but after a certain period, the people who love you best that already gave you that isolation, they go ahead and they're like, all right, I'm gonna break this do not disturb because my man, you've been going through it for a while. And I'll reference this friend I had that was going through something. I felt like I lost my best friend. And I was just like, yo, what's going on with you? Because he went months and I gave him space. Gave him space. And then one day I got tired of that. And I went over and I said, I want my friend back. My friend's coming out with me tonight. And I don't give a fuck. And all that was said was, yeah, I'm ready. That's it. It's Cesar. Spoiler. I'm gonna use the name. I'm gonna call him out. Yo, this dude kept punting. No, 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 no. And one day I was just tired. I just showed up. And he was, yeah, I'm good. We out? I'm like, all right. Yeah. No other words. There was no other could pep talk, nothing. We went out. What we do? We drank beers and talk shit. Nothing crazy.
Yes. Facts. No, I remember that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think we're saying that we want to pretend like it ain't happened. I don't
No.
think that's what we're doing here,
Yes.
because that would annoy. That would be annoying too, I think. But like, it's just you gotta understand. People are processing things. This is heavy. It's something that, like, think about yourself. How would you handle that? Like, what would you want someone to be all in your, like, constantly, are you good? Are you good? Or like whatever, like, like, it's like it's cute the first few days, but then after that third day, we might have to throw fists, you know? And you don't want to see that monster. You don't want to see that guy. So just just be considerate.
You gotta have a barometer with these things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yes, definitely. A barometer of emotions. Yes. By the way, guys, if you guys want to see our breakdown with how we deal with grief when it comes to relationships, you can watch episode 1, because I think we kind of mentioned that there as well. But
The encyclopedia, bro.
Yes.
I'm at the table of contents.
I mean, I don't know if you guys wanted to add on to the relationship grief.
Well, I'll add something. Not relationship, romantic relationship, because honestly, I don't think I've. Well, maybe I have. I won't get into the details of it. Um, I'll keep it surface level. My wife does know the details of it just before y'all start trying to start drama with it.
Word, right?
Oh,
So they're gonna be like, "What? Don't
Yeah.
put her name out there."
she would never know.
But I mean, in moving from New York, there was, and you guys know who she is, there was a potential relationship. It was a lot of back and forth until, prior to me moving, there was progress towards something materializing there. And then it all went to shit after I moved, which is part of like the big depression I went through was that not happening, losing you guys, losing my lifestyle from New York, all that, like basically grieving a lifestyle. Um, but past the romantic stuff, that's not even why I said it, was a friendship. And I won't mention the name again, but you guys know who he is. This is a person that I was friends with since like second and third grade, and we had a very intense falling out um, after I had already moved here. But it was intense, and it's really never gotten back to what it was, and it never will probably at this point. We've gotten to a place where we're okay with each other. Um, but that was a pretty serious, I guess that's the first friend, like actual friend that I feel like I lost and never got back, had a falling out. Because I've had falling outs, I think, just to be transparent here, Cesar and I have had a falling out, very small, but we kind of picked it back up and we are who we are today. Look at we're all brothers and shit like that. But with this person, it just never got back to a point where I go to New York and I can hit him up, be like, yo, let's go hang out, just you and I. That's not something that I envision happening, which is, I guess it's grieving a loss and just kind of accepting, moving on, getting over it, and just being grown up about it at this point.
Oh, wait. Turn back. Yeah, I had a falling out. This wasn't over no chicken wings, right? Because my man learned how to share chicken wings. But that, so this ain't. I didn't even know y'all had a falling out.
It was very brief.
3 days.
Give or take.
I had a falling out with Cesar for 2 weeks. We won't get into that one though.
Asiel, have you had a falling out with Cesar too? Cesar's
Cesar's
troublemaker.
a fallout
I
guy.
would say yes in a way, for a lot of reasons, not ones that I guess to be a lot of stuff that I should take accountability for, and I guess it kind of plays off like the grief of losing a relationship, like kind of have to like move on in the way that the person's still alive, but you can't be friends anymore, so you gotta like grieve that relationship. Um, and in the way I guess I felt I was since I was I guess to myself when a lot of bullshit happened and my partner went crazy and kind of like fractured it
Cesar's a
a
dick.
bit. Hmm?
Cesar's a dick.
No, nah. I don't think Cesar did anything wrong. If anything, it was probably all me with all my miscommunication. So, but we talked about it. I think when Roberto came to the city, um, we were outside a bar and we talked about it and we hugged it out. So we kind of picked it up since then. Um, so yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Roberto. Oh man, it's funny though that everybody like says I'm at.
I was joking about my falling out with Cesar. My falling out
Uh,
with Cesar was like comical B. It's no real falling out. It's just my man. I can't have a
but
falling out with this guy. Look at that guy. It's the best guy ever, yo.
He is. He
but
is.
it is weird when you are close with people, and they kind of just like disappear. Like have had other relationship with other friends and people I grew up with. Like they knew my parents, they came into my house and vice versa. Like I had moved to Buffalo, one of my friends that I grew up with, from 139. Um, and like the person that we were living with, they had tension, some weird tension happened. I had moved out prior to, and then they moved out. And then I don't know what happened, but eventually like we used to work together and then we like stopped working together and I never heard from them again. And this is like somebody I used to chill with like almost every day. And it's just like sometimes I just sit and wonder, like, what the hell happened? Like they really like distanced themselves to the point of like I don't know if you exist anymore, if you're alive or not. Um, and it's just like I grieve that relationship because like yo, I used to be mad cool with you, and I don't know, you just like flipped, and that's it. And you just like accept it, and then fuck.
Yeah, those grievances of losing a friend is tough because you know it's like you guys said, that person's still alive. They're still there. They still seem like they're available. But it's one of those things that it leaves a sour feeling in you because it's like at least me, I'm the type of person that I try to reflect like, all right, what could I have done better? What could I have done? Like, sometimes I get into a war within myself to kind of like be like, all right, was it like what like was it my fault? Like should I be the one to like um
Hmm. Reach out.
reach out? Should I leave it alone? It's such a it's a tricky situation, and it definitely has a very similar impact to, like, they even have studies about this, that the brain has a similar effect to when you lose a relationship or a friendship. So like that's like almost the same as losing a death. So
La muerte en vida. Esa vaina,
and that one fucks you up psychologically, but in a like different way, because it's like now you have to reflect on yourself. You're like, all right, like, you know.
it's back to that controllable shit I was talking about, where every other grief, it is something that's in your control. Like your reaction to it, you're in control of that, or whatever occurred during. So I have a very, I, I won't say a strong person, but I have a very big sense of self when it comes to me interacting with other people. I don't shy away from stuff. So that could come off in certain people as, oh, this dude's being negative. And I always do it in a respectful way. Um, Recently, earlier in the year, I had this, I'm gonna call it a disagreement with one of my boys. That's my boy. And I was hurt by it. I was hurt. And I kept circling back and I'm like, where did I go wrong with this? And it felt like we've had that situation pop up so many times where, I don't even want to get into the specifics of it, but we've had a situation like that come up so many times where it never mattered. And I'm not saying like situation where he brought that up, where I brought it up, and it's been good. And it's like a situation of generosity. So it's a positive situation. For some reason that night, shit went south, and it was something that certain things were said. It was just like, really? Is that really necessary? And I did have to look inwardly. But to that point, even though I looked inwardly and all those things, and I was like, yo, where could I have changed this up? The only thing I could have done different was not say what I said after everything happened. That's the only thing I feel I could have done different. But I still was impacted by it. So the reason why we got there didn't even matter. The only thing that mattered at the end of the day was, how am I not speaking to this person? So to me, even though I didn't look at the situation, I was like, I could have controlled it at this point. I could have not done this. I could have not done that, because literally it just happened like this out of nowhere. I don't think anybody was expecting any of it. Well, I was still remiss, and I was still like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. So I reached out, I called, and I was like, yo, this is what's going to happen. And we could do one or two things, whatever you want to do, but I just want to let you know I miss you. Saw him, like nothing happened. So for 2 months, or a month and a half, whatever time it was, I think it was a month and a half, we didn't speak, and it was for what? Now that we actually cool and everything like that, we still go our 3 weeks without talking, 4 weeks, and then check in on each other briefly, and then maybe see each other. But it's a different dynamic, because we understand we're good. But when we weren't good, when there was no understanding we were good, I'm pretty sure on his side as well, it was like, damn, this isn't right. It shouldn't be like this. So uh, it does cause you to reflect. But to Cesar's point, that reaction that you have, whether it's your fault or not, if it's important to you, if it's whatever it is, you should be reaching out. And if you don't reach out, that's your answer right there. I'm all right with this not coming back for me. Or I've gotten to a point where it's okay. I understand what transpired and all those things, but that grief of grieving somebody that's still there, you got their number, or you know where they go, you know what they do with their pastime, with their free time, but it's just not the same. Or when it becomes cool and it's just like a cordial thing, like, yo, what up? You good? How's the fam? Cool. Out. You kind of like, it still causes you to think like, damn, me and you was really tight before. Yeah, like that shit is that shit's deep.
I appreciate you for sharing them. That helps.
On that topic, just kind of, and maybe we wrap up after this, up to you guys. Healing in general, especially amongst men who are basically trained, grown up, not to be vulnerable, as we've been this entire episode. What do you guys think is the importance of being vulnerable, especially as Hispanic men, in this society, in this type of culture that we grow up with? Why is it important to be vulnerable?
I think it's important to be vulnerable because everybody's human and everybody's going through real shit. and we can all find like commonality in some of that, and some of the struggle, and some of the pain, some of the hurt. Pretty much everybody has parents or has had parents, or siblings, or somebody they might have lost, or a partner they might have lost, or relationships. So I think it's important to talk about those things because, we can understand each other more if we talk about things that we have in common. So I think that's why it's important to be vulnerable.
I think you can't build any meaningful connections with anyone if you're not vulnerable.
That's true too.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
it's a risk, yes, but what are you blocking from your possible experiences in this lifetime? That's it's a short time. It's a short life. So it's like, are you gonna live the rest of your life shut down? You know, not inviting anyone in. Like it's cool. Like I love my small circle. I love my circle. I love my core team. I love it. But I wouldn't have it if I was never vulnerable with you guys at some point. So I think
Yeah.
this us doing what we're doing now, I think this kind of opens the gates to kind of maybe have like-minded individuals or people that have like um, similar experiences to kind of resonate. It can't all just be social media and everybody's doing good and everybody going on vacation. Everybody's good. Todo el mundo está bien. Everybody rich. Nah,
Right.
that's not the reality of life. This content like this hits. This resonates with the people that it needs to hit. And I think that's why it's important to be vulnerable to kind of lead a new path, create a new movement.
And I'll say this, vulnerability does look different for everybody, but at some point or another, Cesar said you have to open something up. You know what I'm saying? The other day I was with Cesar and we didn't say shit to each other for an hour. When I told you we didn't say, I'm talking about we were listening to music with that's it. Or be like, just like syllables, no actual words, no. And then I was just like, it was like an hour and a half, and I'm like, yo, we haven't said shit to each other this whole time. What? What did we have there? We had a space where we were just comfortable and shutting the fuck up, just being quiet.
Mhm.
We'll have opportunities another time, but how'd we get there? Because there are times where we do lean on each other. Because that same day, maybe like 4 hours later, we spoke about something that happened to him days before. And he spoke to me like he had just seen me. And it wasn't like, hey, I gotta talk to you about something. It kind of just, boy, see, like if he was just on. But how does that feel? It lets me know the nigga's comfortable enough to just be like I was saying a month ago, this is where I'm at now. And it makes me feel like, oh snap, he's entrusting me with something that occupies his mind, like that occupies his days. He processed it, he was ready to talk about it, he said it. I asked whatever question I asked. I don't even remember at this point. All I know is that my man's is good. I don't gotta remember all the details to this point. My man's good. To Sargo me dio lo que me dijo. I know the bullet points. And I think that goes across the board. So being vulnerable, understanding spaces like we said earlier, um, it cultivates that environment where you feel safest. And like you said, Roberto, we ain't really and how we said in an episode prior, Cesar probably let y'all know what episode that was.
And the timestamp.
And the timestamp exactly when it happened. But we are in our culture told to man up. Like you can't really feel it. And when you have a community, no matter if it's a group of 4 people or a group of 10 or whatever the amount is, it's good to be able to have some people to let it out towards. And it's not all social media glitz and glamour and I'm on vacation. That done polluted people's mind thinking that, yo, this shit is just easy. Like, and don't get me wrong, you should go on vacation. You should enjoy your life. You should enjoy everything. We spoke about death and about the beautiful moments in life and all those things, but life ain't just all vacations. The reality is that the probability you have of having somebody like that that's single and ready to settle down and be in a relationship, even though they're millionaires, is highly unlikely, or they already have their woman, or they already have their man, or already have their situation, already have their kids. Everyday life is not seen on social media. It just isn't. So to be vulnerable with the people that are around you, to reach out to people, to not let just bygones be bygones when it actually matters to you, that's life. And that's how you end up not grieving these moments as often as you grieve them, as long as you embrace the shit you got in front of you. Its importance, its relevancy.
It's very well said, man. Yeah, and to everyone listening out there too, like just know you do have that community. It may not seem as in your face as what we have here with us and with Lulu included too, because he is part of that community with us. Um, just know you do have people there that love you or looking out for you, that you can be vulnerable with, and vice versa. Um, so yeah, be vulnerable, as comfortable as you can be, and just lean on those people.
And process your shit too.
Yes.
Understand that part of it too. You shouldn't bombard people with stuff, but you should understand that I should be able to go to somebody. If you can't go to that person, then you gotta reevaluate some things. But processing and understanding what your reaction can be, or where your actions led you to this situation, that all helps too. And on that note,
Yes.
On that note,
on
Good
that note,
shit, man.
I hope y'all don't go through grievances not hearing us for a while. We had a layoff, and we'll try to pour content. If there's something that you want to hear us talk about, let us know. We're always open to those things. We always listen. Big shout out to Rose family, because they're probably watching this. Appreciate y'all. And everybody that tunes in all the time. I don't know everybody on Hacion Cesar's side, but I can speak to Roro's side. Everybody who tunes in, if y'all got anything for us to talk about, let us know. It's been a
yes,
while, but thank you for watching us again. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you.
yes. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, be a friend. Now, till next time, and don't leave.
Have a good one, y'all.
Peace out.
Please.